Hey everyone, welcome back to My Fitness Drive. I'm TJ, your personal trainer in training, and today we're going to jump right into our beginner jump rope series, learning the basic jump. So let's get right into it. So before we actually get into basic jump, we're gonna go over a few things. One of those is how to measure your rope properly. Now, to measure your rope, you're going to make sure that you take your two handles, which we call these the mics or the mix, and we line them up evenly. Once they're lined up evenly, we take our foot and we're gonna step through the center of the rope. So we got them lined up evenly. We're gonna take our foot and we're just gonna step through the center, okay? Now, once we have ourselves in position, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the mics and we're gonna tilt them out. While they're tilted, the base of your handles should be at the base of your sternum. So mine's a little shorter, but they should be meeting at the base of your sternum. That's going to be the sweet spot when you're first starting off. So when you're starting off, just make sure the handles meet the base of your sternum, and that's going to be the proper way for you to measure your rope. So now that we've covered how to properly measure the rope, we're going to go over where your arms and your wrists need to be to properly swing the rope around your body. Common beginner mistakes is that we swing too far out, and as you can see the rope behind me, or let me just bring it to the front, as you can see here, the rope is at my shins. You want the rope to be hitting the ground every time you perform a swing. And that doesn't happen if your arms are too far out. It's not hitting the ground, it's hitting your shin. So what's gonna happen? Well, when the rope comes around your body and it's too high, you're gonna have to jump higher to get around the rope. And you're gonna tire yourself out, so you definitely don't wanna do that. And also, you're landing really hard that it's going to cause impact to your shins, and you're gonna develop what we call shin splints. So to avoid that, make sure that instead of having your arms out here, you keep them close to your core. And your wrists, you should not be up here level with your ribs, they should be level with your hip. So don't have your arms out, have them close to your core, and don't have your hands up too high, have them even with your hip, okay? So that way, when you do swing the rope, you swing it, and you can see I didn't have to raise my arm much. Just with the flick of my wrist, I was able to get the rope around me, and it's already under my toes. So one more time, we swing here, okay? Let's talk about the actual wrist movement. So when we're swinging of the rope, okay, we're going to flick with our wrists. I'm not going to swing these big swings with my arms. Like, yes, you're going to use your arms a little bit to a degree, but you should really be getting the rope around you as much as possible with just your wrists. So one more time, I'm just swinging it with my wrist. All my power, all my force is coming from my wrist to get the rope around me. Okay, so these are proper wrist rotations. We're not doing this, okay? So we're not taking big swings. Avoid doing this. Avoid these really big swings. Keep control with your wrists, flick them over, and just get used to practicing that. Another way for you to get familiar with just the wrist movement is to take the handles of your mics and just swing them, swing them, swing them. Swing with your wrists, get familiar with this. Go forwards, you can stop, go backwards. You can do figure eights, which you're swinging across your body. And then you just switch to the other hand. You go forward, then you go backward, Then you do some figure eights. Okay, so just get familiar with the actual wrist movement. I always start off my jump rope sessions with just a few of these. Just to keep your wrists limber and moving. So let's talk about feedback and the way that we should be jumping. Feedback is when the rope is swinging across your body, I don't need to look at it to know where is it around my body. So having a beaded rope, especially when you're starting off, is going to be one of the best tips I can advise, because the weight of the beads allows you to feel where the rope is when you're swinging it, and you're not even looking at where the rope is coming down. Like, you can feel the rope is behind you and where exactly it is behind you, because the weight of the beads is telling your body where in proximity it is behind you, okay? So that's feedback, knowing where the rope is and feeling the weight of it and its position relative to your body. So I could just be staring off in the horizon and know exactly where the rope is to my body because I can feel where it is, okay? So get used to swinging the rope around your body a few times just so you can get familiar with that feedback. Before we actually do the jumping, let's talk about how we're going to jump. So you might realize that, or when you're starting off, it's very easy to take these very big and exaggerated jumps. You don't want to do that, right? A lot of times when we're starting off, we rely too much on seeing the rope come over us, that when we see it, it's almost like we lock up. And when we lock up, we like jump out of reaction versus having the jump feel natural. And I'm gonna turn a little bit to the side so it's a little bit more visible. So when you jump, the entire time we're slightly bending our knees. We're not taking these exaggerated bendings and jumping. We're slightly bending. There's just kind of slight hops, slight skips. And I stay relatively in the same space. You don't wanna do this number where you're kind of going off one side or going off here, unless that's what you're intending to do for the purpose of your exercise. It's important that, just as with anything else, we utilize proper breathing technique. And the proper breathing technique is in through our nose and out through our mouth. In through our nose, out through our mouths. And you're gonna notice as I'm doing that, my body's relaxed, right? So when I'm jumping rope, I'm not tense with my shoulders. My shoulders are relaxed. I'm breathing in and out. I like to do a few primer jumps, which gets my body in the flow and the rhythm of things. And this is all without the actual swinging of the rope. So I just do a few jumps, and then I breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. In through my nose and out through my mouth. Now, when I'm actually jumping, I'm not taking such deep breaths in and long moments to exhale. They're rather short breaths. So okay, so that's kind of the cadence you want to be at. Obviously, your breathing cadence is going to depend on how fast or slow you're jumping rope. So now let's incorporate everything we did together, or we've learned together, to do our first jump. So remember, feedback, listening to the rope, or feeling the rope, feeling the rope and where it is on your body, its relative position to your body, keeping your arms in, keeping your wrists low, and slightly bending your knees, hopping, and landing just as softly, okay? Now, because I need the momentum of the rope to actually do the jump, I can't swing in slow motion. There is a such thing as gravity in physics. So I'll slow this part of the video down so that way you can see it in slow motion. All right, and that's all there is to it. Very simple, easy, basic jump. So just to kind of recap, because it is starting to sprinkle here, when you're doing the basic jump, remember that you are jumping softly and landing softly, which means slightly bending your knees. You're not taking these big exaggerated jumps. You're gonna be in control of your jumps, which are really more like slight hops. And a way that you can make sure that you're utilizing the proper jumping form is by keeping your arms close, your wrists low, so that way the rope has enough slack to hit the ground and you're not over swinging, therefore forcing your body to jump higher and harder and landing harder than it needs to. Harder landing equals shin splints, but when you're starting off, I'm just gonna tell you up front, it doesn't matter how well or poor your technique is, you're going to develop some shin splints just because it's part of the growing pains when you're starting off jump roping. I would recommend that when you're jump roping, jump rope every other day for maybe about 10 to 15 minutes tops. When I say 10 to 15 minutes tops, maybe you do like a 10-minute session where you're on the rope for maybe 30 seconds at pretty high intensity and then taking like 10 seconds off. Or you can do a minute straight of decent intensity and then taking like 25 seconds off. And then just keep doing that back and forth until you hit your 10 minutes. Obviously, as with anything that we do, prevent injury or risk of injury. So land softly, keep your arms tight, rotate with your wrists, not with your arms. Shoes. So one of the best things I could recommend in terms of the proper shoes to wear would be like running shoes. I jump rope with these running shoes. They're Brooks brand. I do like the Brooks brand because they provide that arch, and after many years of being sedentary and working at a desk, I've developed plantar fasciitis. So yeah, getting in these running shoes and jumping rope in them, it really cushions a lot of the impact that you would otherwise suffer directly on your foot through your shin. I wouldn't recommend any kind of like weight training shoes, sneakers, basketball shoes. I mean, you can if you're athletic enough to just kind of endure it, but I would recommend good cushioned running shoes that have some arch support to help you mitigate risk of injury, causing shin splints, and just to make the overall beginner experience and the growing pains more enjoyable, because it can deter you if you injure yourself right at the beginning and then you're like, oh, I can't do this. Jump roping is fun, and if you're not a fan of running, it's a great alternative to running. It's a great cardio exercise. So yeah, that's all there is to it. As we continue the jump rope series, we're gonna get into more advanced skills, so be ready for that. If you like what we're producing, I would greatly appreciate a like, share, subscribing to the channel. And until next time, stay active, be healthy, and see you later on my fitness drive.